Experience used to guarantee security. Today, it only guarantees that you've survived long enough to be tested again. The marketplace doesn't reward longevity, not like it used to, but it rewards relevance. And relevance belongs to those who can adjust, learn, and evolve. So today we're challenging the idea that experience alone is enough and making the case for adaptability as the true competitive advantage. Let's talk about it right after this.
Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work, an award-winning podcast where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
Are you relying on what you know or investing in what you still need to learn? This is something that we really need to talk about. So, experience is a foundation, right? But it's not a fortress. You can't stay behind it like you have a moat around you. Like, hey, experience is my moat and no one can get around it. It helps. But experience provides insight, context, and perspective, but it also can create rigidity because sometimes you do not like, and not you, some of you may, right? I know for myself, I relied on my experience so much and so often at one particular time that it did not allow me to continue to grow and to learn and to experience something else. And so as professionals, sometimes we rely too heavily on past successes, which I could definitely attest to. And so now the individuals, i.e. myself, resist to new methods and miss emerging opportunities. And so it's no different than listening to someone who's been in a position for the last 30 years. And there's not too many of those out there at this time. But I've been in a position for the last 30 years, and this one method has worked all this time. Now, there are certain industries that, yes, it best fits to stay in that pocket. But in most, you have to change with the times. And because we have done this for the last 30 years, there are some nonprofits who feels like, hey, we've been doing it this way. Well, understand how other nonprofits are still growing and reaching their target market by being more creative in their processes. And so adaptability keeps you valuable. They are adapting to what is going on, not just from a technological perspective, but they're also adapting to who the clientele are. Because the people that you're serving don't always stay the same either. And so the ability to learn quickly, adjust your strategies, and respond to change keeps you in demand. Adaptable professionals don't panic when things shift. They pivot with a purpose. And growth requires letting go of how it's always been. Clinging to the familiar processes limits innovation. Adaptability requires humility, the willingness to release outdated approaches in favor of better ones. And how many of us are short-sighted in that space? How many of us have really taken a stance and decide that they want to build their house of straw on because they don't want to change? They don't want something different. They don't want to see and experience something different or something new. Again, change people have a real earnest fear about. But we need to understand that industries evolve faster than our resumes do. And this matters because we as professionals, whether it's in our career or our business, those of us who fail to adapt really, really risk being obsolete. And what happens when you feel that way? You feel down. Now you're depressed. Now you're feeling worthless, not understanding what your true value is. And so if you take into consideration your 30 years of experience, in addition to what other technologies are out there. So if you utilize, I'm just going to make something up, take something that I've learned recently on how to schedule text messages on my phone. It sounds weird, but yeah, I just realized I can actually do that. And so if I am on a team, that gives me opportunities to message my team on a daily basis. So whether or not that message is a good morning, a motivational quote, but how about it is the opportunity to share something else about the job, so that way all of us can now grow together. We could all become peers together. We could all now become efficient and effective. But you know what? We don't like competition either. That's the other challenge that we have. And I understand that sometimes it feels like I need to hoard this information because I'm more valuable that way. And then that way I don't have to worry about somebody else coming to take my job and this, that, and the other. Yes, I hear you. I understand that part. But are you really being an effective leader? Are you really being an effective supervisor? So let's reframe this idea where we think the experience can guarantee us anything. We need to understand that flexibility, adaptability is going to help us stay relevant in this situation. So as I look back on my client a client of mine who had a fear of touching AI, what they're realizing in that is that some of their programs are not successful because they have not adapted to what else is available out in the marketplace. If we look at some organizations who are not adapting very well to the marketplace, so how shipping, imports and exports, how that has changed over a period of time. If we don't adjust, especially when as costs rise, if I'm doing the old way of receiving my product, and we've done this for the last 30 years, is there a faster way to get things done? Maybe at one particular time, maybe freight was not moved as quickly as it is now, i.e., is it on a plane or is it on a boat? What is it on, or how is it being transported? So we have to understand that, yes, we might have done this for a very long time, but we need to be adaptable and experience. Your experience may open a door for some opportunities. But being adaptable determines how long you stay in that room. And when you stay flexible, you stay valuable. Now, before we move on to the end of the show, I would like for you to identify a belief that's rooted in how it's always been done. And I would like for you to explain it. I would like for you to update it and devise a plan to move forward past it. I thank you very much for listening today.
Thanks for listening. Follow Maurice Chisholm on social media to stay connected and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work. Or will it?